Everybody, Big Ruler 31 back here for FSI DFS. It is Friday, the 3rd of September, Labor Day weekend. So hopefully you guys have some time off. The weather hopefully going to be nice, at least for the next couple days here on the East Coast. Hopefully you're not dealing with storm damage too much from the hurricane. And let's look into some baseball. Pretty much probably the last weekend. I mean, college football starts up before NFL takes over and baseball goes on the back burner, but still some exciting games, some exciting races, and we've got a really big slate tonight to look at. So let's jump in. I'm just going to blow through the games quickly, then I'll go over some pitchers and some stacks to consider and give you a couple lineup builds at the end. So first game, New York Mets and Washington Nationals. Rich Hill, Sean Nolan, not interested really in either pitcher. But I do like the Mets bats wise. I think they make a decent GPP stack today. They're starting to put it together. They get a lefty in Nolan, so that definitely makes Alonso and some of the switch hitters on top, like Villar and Lindor and Baez, like really good plays. Washington bats, not too interested in. You can always, like Soto is like a lefty, so maybe Bell as a one-off. Some cheap pieces here, but not overly interested in them at all. Next, we have the New York Yankees and the Baltimore Orioles at Yankee Stadium. Hopefully it dried out enough after all the rain the other day. You have John Means and Nestor Cortes. Means isn't a bad pitcher, and I think, in GPPs, he's viable. He can probably get 12 to 15 DK points. The bullpen after him was horrible, so I don't know if he'll be able to hold on for the win. So FanDuel, I'm not interested as much. Cortez for the Yankees, he's been decent this year. I know the Orioles do have some good right-handed power bats against him, so he's a bit risky. I think, he's one of the cheap pitchers you can consider tonight. But I think this slate's kind of weird because there's really no clear-cut options for anything. So I think he can be in your player pool. I think Means can also. I think they're both cheap pitchers, only $300 apart. So if they fit your builds, I don't necessarily know if I'd play them in cash. I'd lean more Cortez over Means, but each one could go either way. They could do really well, get some strikeouts, or they could give up some home runs. So bat-wise, the Yankees, I think I like them as my favorite GPP stack of the night, just especially with the pricing. It's a tough decision because you have to decide Voit or Rizzo, but being they're up against a lefty starter here, so he should be in there for 3 or 4 innings. So it's at least a couple at bats. I'd favor Voit over Rizzo, and then definitely like the right-handed bats here for the Yankees. On the Baltimore side, I think they definitely make a decent cheap stack with Hayes and Mountcastle and Mancini. Just load up, and Santander, just load up on the right-handers in a GPP. I think is definitely a nice way to go in a tournament tonight. Oakland A's and the Toronto Blue Jays. Yes, Sean Manaea and Alex Manoah. Manaea has not been good recently. He's really struggled. I don't know if it's what happened to him, if it's the sticky stuff situation, or if it's just teams have seen him enough. There's enough of a book on him to know what's coming at them. So I'm out on him tonight. Manoah, I think, is definitely somebody that you consider in cash. I think he'd be my 4th favorite option out of everybody that have maybe my 3rd, because I think one of the top pitchers might be on a pitch count, come back from the IL. So I think he's definitely in the top 4. Somebody you can consider if you want to pay up. Oakland's a decent team, but I don't think, he's a young pitcher. They're mostly a right-handed lineup. He's pretty good against righties, should get some strikeouts, especially at the bottom of the lineup. So definitely viable there. Oakland bats, not interested in. Maybe just a leverage stack there. Toronto, I think, is okay in a GPP, but I think they'd be probably in the top 10 tonight. But everybody's playing except for I think Chicago and Pittsburgh have an early game off the slate, and they wouldn't be considered top stacks tonight anyways if they were on the slate. So Toronto's definitely in play. The pricing's usually a little bit too high. I know they're against a lefty and Manaea struggle, but I don't think it's an elite matchup. So GPP definitely for that. Philadelphia Phillies and the Miami Marlins. You have Kyle Gibson and Jesus Luzardo, but I've also seen A bunch of other pitchers for the Marlins, and like Alcantara came out of nowhere yesterday. It could be neater. Like, so I'm not planning on the Marlins pitcher. Philly's been decent offensively. So, um, unless they break out like, early 2000s, like Al Leiter or somebody for like that pitch for the Marlins. I think he did. I'm just really not interested in any of these pitchers at this point, especially because a lot of them are young and they're just putting them out there and then they'll pull them because they don't want to use them up too much. They want to kind of see what they have, keep them fresh, get them experience, but they're not in a point where they're contending for anything. Kyle Gibson, on the other hand, I really do like. I know he hasn't been the greatest pitcher, but in the context of the slate, I think he definitely makes a lot of sense here. I think he can probably maybe get at least probably 16 to 17 DK points, but maybe up to like into the low 20s against this Marlins lineup. So I think he's definitely going to be an SP2 that I look at 8-1 tonight quite often. Phillies lineup, it depends on like who they throw out there. They've had some injuries, but they're getting some guys back. But then they have some minor league guys. Marchand, I've been using a lot as a catcher at 2-2. He's actually been decently consistent. So I think I'll throw him in there. But with so many other teams on the slate tonight, I think Philly's okay, but I don't even know if they like scratch my top 10. I don't even really care who the pitcher is for the Marlins, even if it's a bullpen game. I think, definitely you can play a stack of them in GPP, but there's so many other better situations tonight. Marlins bats, not really interested in any of these, although they are pretty cheap. Cleveland Indians and Boston Red Sox, Qual Cantrell and Nathan Eovaldi. Quintrell has pitched better recently, and the Boston Red Sox are still dealing with COVID issues, so they're not full strength lineup, but they do have some lefties that are decent against right-hand pitching. So I don't know. Quintrell is intriguing at 7-2. I think there's some better plays, kind of no man's land, because there's some better plays in the 8K range I'd pay up for, and there's some better guys in like the 6K range that I'd maybe want to play. I think he can, I don't know, he could get 10 DK points, he could get 20 DK points, but I think it's a bit risky. So even though it's intriguing, if the Red Sox throw a complete trash lineup, then you need somebody in his price range, then go ahead. But if the Red Sox throw out a pretty strong lineup with what they have left, especially up top, then I would avoid him. Eovaldi on the other side, he's priced up, but I think he might be definitely my top 4 tonight if you're paying up. Cleveland has been better recently, but I think they're better against left-handed pitchers, again, right-handed pitchers. So, and look at the bottom of the lineup, like, Daniel Johnson has had some bright spots. Zimmer, Bobby Bradley, like they're going to throw some lefties out here, but they're just not really good ones. So I think Eovaldi, even though he has been volatile at times, it's probably priced about $1,000 too high. I think he is definitely in play tonight. Cleveland, definitely, I don't know if I'd really look at a stack of them tonight. Maybe some one-off left-hand bats if you need some cheap fill-ins, but they're not spectacular. And Boston, I think, again, maybe would rank 9th or 10th today in my rankings, but I don't think they're a priority. I do like some of the lefties against him, like Schwarber, Devers, Verdugo, Duran. So you can make a nice little 3-man stack there, and then maybe throw in, Renfroe. He just hasn't been consistent. Who has been consistent, and he's a righty, is Dahlbeck, but he hasn't. Probably not going to crack the lineup against Quintrell tonight. So, but if he's in, he's somebody to look at. Other than that, just move on to the next game. You have Detroit against Cincinnati. It's a Detroit bullpen game, most likely against Vladimir Gutierrez. Gutierrez is one that's so hard to get right. It's a good matchup against Detroit, but I just Detroit can be hit. Detroit can go quiet. So again, context of the slate, not interested. Such a big slate. If it was a 5-game slate like yesterday, then I think you'd have to take a more serious look at Gutierrez. But here, I'm kind of off of them. Tigers, bat-wise, maybe some one-offs here. Badu has just been pretty amazing this season leading off. So there's somebody that we can look at as a one-off, maybe some of the switch hitters here, but not too interested in the Detroit bats. Cincinnati, on the other hand, I think they would be my third favorite stack outside of Coors Field tonight. Have a 5.43 total. They're getting healthy. They're facing a lefty, and since it's going to be a bullpen game, like Votto, I think is in play also here. So India, Stevens, if he's batting second, I don't like paying up for catcher, but in this context, I would. Castellanos, Farmer, lots of options here. Moustakas should be back, but he's a lefty. I don't know if he'd face the lefty starter here. Maybe pinch hit later in the game, but we'll just have to see what the lineup is. But lots of options on Cincinnati. Minnesota and Tampa Bay, Randy Dombeck and Michael Wacha. Again, not super interested here in either one of these pitchers. Minnesota makes a really nice cheap stack tonight. I think Polanco at 4K is the highest priced one. Wacha's had his struggles. He's more of a reverse splits pitcher. So definitely like the righties here. Buxton, Polanco switch hitter, Donaldson, Sano, Rooker at 2-3. So definitely they are a cheap stack if you want to pay up for 2 pitchers and take some stud one-offs and throw in like a 4-man stack or 5-man stack in Minnesota. If you want to go that way in a GPP, it'd be definitely unique. Tampa Bay on the other side, they have a high total. I think, they'd probably be with the Red Sox at like 9th or 10th in my ranking tonight. More the lefties here, Low, Meadows, probably. Nelson Cruz has really struggled recently, so I'm off him. He's been pretty cold. Maybe if Kimura is always cheap at 2-4, but again, the context of the slate, just there's so many other better positions in Tampa Bay tonight. So if you're playing 20 lineups and you want a Tampa Bay stack, I don't hate you for it, but I don't think they're a super high priority. Next game, we have a pitching matchup. We have Adam Wainwright and Freddie Peralta. Wainwright has been really good recently, and the Brewers have gotten better. They don't strike out as much as they had recently, but still, I think Wainwright can have a good game. The Brewers total is not super high at 4.34, but do you really want to pay 10K for him? It just seems kind of expensive. I know he's probably one of the best consistent options on this slate, so that's where you're gonna have to pay that much for him. Peralta on the other side, he's coming back from, I think, a shoulder injury. He did have rehab start. He only went 2 or 3 innings. I think you're going to see a pitch count on him. Like the price at 9.3, but how deep is he going to go? They have a really good bullpen behind them. It's a good situation because St. Louis can completely disappear offensively sometimes. So I think Peralta is very risky. So just pay attention to Twitter and news feeds and stuff to see if they're talking about a pitch count on him at all. But if he's good to go and there's no pitch count, then I definitely think he's in the top 4 for pitching, with Wainwright also there. No bats in this game really interests me at all. I mean, I guess if you want to go with leverage stacks, if you think either pitcher is going to have high ownership, other than that, they don't really make sense in the slate. Next, maybe some weather in Kansas City. Looks like maybe a 35% chance of rain. It looks like it's going to be more later than earlier, so they could get this one in. I have Dallas Keuchel and Carlos Hernandez I see, but I've also seen Bubik, so I don't think it really makes a difference. I think the White Sox are in a good situation either way here. Batting, Dallas Keuchel, I think, again, in the context of slate, you got to consider him as a cheap pitcher because Kansas City's really struggled. But then again, Keuchel really gets no strikeouts at all. He's more of a junk pitcher, just tries to get, ground balls, get outs, and not going to blow the ball by anybody. So bat-wise, Perez, very expensive, gets the split advantage. So if you are doing like the Minnesota lineup and looking for like the one-offs, and you don't take the catch from Minnesota, which wouldn't make sense because it looks like it's going to be revolting, be lefty matchup. or lefty righty matchup, but Wacha's reverse splits, then Salvador Perez could make sense here. Very low ownership. If he gets like a double home run night, that could win you a tournament. So, especially if it's a low scoring night, but with so many teams on the slate, I can't imagine that happening. White Sox on the other side, really like them here. In this matchup, I know Anderson's still out, but they're getting close to getting back to full strength. Grandal's back now. So down the bottom of the lineup, you got some 3K guys to mix in with the more expensive guys. So it's an expensive way to go. I think it's a GPP. I like the Yankees a little bit better in their matchup and their pricing, but I definitely think that the White Sox are a stack in the top 10 tonight. Now we come to Coors, where again we have a rain threat, but it looks like only 34% tapering off. So it looks like maybe a delay, but they should get this game in. 11.5 total, 6.21 for Atlanta, 5.29 for Colorado. You have Yanola and Sensatel. Not interested in any pitcher there. Atlanta, they're definitely priced up for Cools, except for Soler and Peterson. Peterson didn't play last night, which is kind of surprising, but he should be in tonight. Elby's might be back, so that definitely would throw a wrench in the thing because he's so expensive to try to build a stack here. I'd rather have Peterson leading off if Elby sits, and Adrianza, if he's back, he was like 2K last night and made a lot of things work. So just have to really see what the lineup is. They have Dienard as the catcher here, but if Voigt's in, like, he's another great option too. I think he's a little bit cheaper. So again, we'll just have to see what the Braves lineup is, and hopefully it comes out before lock. It came out like 10 minutes after lock last night, and much of the guys that we thought were going to be in weren't in, like Peterson. So there's like a little bit of a scramble to try to get that fixed. Very annoying, but I know they're baseball players, not DFS players, so they don't really care about our feelings. Colorado Rockies on the other side. Pricing's decent. You got 3 guys in the 5K, but definitely like McMahon and Tapia and Nunez as a catcher. You got some lefties against Yanola there to choose from in the bottom of the lineup. So I think, they definitely make sense for a stack. Maybe some one-offs mixed into a line with some Braves. There are some cheaper pitchers, so you can game stack it. It's just trying to figure out which guys, because you got a lot of overlapping positions there on DK. A little easier on FanDuel. Next up, Texas Rangers and Los Angeles Angels. I think, honestly, 2 pitchers in this game that I'm really going to look at. Shohei Ohtani, I think, is going to be the chalk pitcher against Texas Rangers. He's good. It's the best matchup. His pricing is only 8.7K. So I think, that it's definitely reasonable on this slate. And I think he's going to be the highest owned pitcher. Glenn Otto, on the other hand, pitched very good against Houston. His first time out, went 5 innings, had some strikeouts. And he was really good in the minor leagues. He's up because a bunch of Texas pitchers are out with COVID protocols. So, he's and like looking at his minor league numbers, he's a good prospect. He came over from the Yankees in the Gallo trade, I believe. And I really like him. And I'm actually going to play a lot of him tonight at 5K. I think he definitely can get the floor of 10 DK points, maybe 15 DK points. Again, besides Ohtani and maybe Walsh, this Angels lineup really doesn't scare me too much. Maybe Marsh, but they're primarily right-handed. He's decent against right-handed pitching. So definitely sign me up for 5K. Bat-wise, Texas is a leverage stack if you think Ohtani's going to struggle, or maybe some of the Angels, they're just so hard to stack against Otto if you think that he's going to be very popular. So, but other than that, I don't think they're really in the top 10 where you want to go bat-wise tonight. Next up, we have Seattle and Arizona. This might be a cross-off game. Tyler Anderson, Madison Bumgarner. Bumgarner at 8.6. It's kind of high price, but he's been better recently. Seattle is not, a bad hitting team. They've got some righties that have some power. So, but again, just in the context of the slate, there's so much on a 14-game slate. I don't think you have to get cute here. I don't think Baumgartner really price-wise fits into any builds. I don't think you need Seattle bats or the Arizona bats here. Tyler Anderson, I'm not really at 8K also is kind of no man's land. Really not interested in him. I get even against a weak Arizona lineup, but they could probably throw out like 8 righties if they wanted to against him. So I'm just kind of moving on from this game. Like I said, it's just I don't object to this game. And if you are playing like 150 lineups, and I know you're going to have a Seattle stack, I know you're going to have Arizona stack, ownership's going to be low here. This game, I don't really see a total now. Probably going to guess it's like 8.5 to 9. But it's so many other better situations. Going to move on. Okay, now you have another decent matchup. The battle for the West here. You have the Dodgers and the San Francisco Giants. You have David Price, who we thought was going to the bullpen, but he keeps on pitching, but not as well as he used to. Probably only going to get you like 10 DK points at 7.3. So many other better options. I'd rather pay 5K for Otto over playing David Price. DeSclafani struggled a lot recently too. Probably 10 to 12 DK points for him against this Dodger lineup that's just locked in. So not interested in either pitcher here. Bat-wise, the Dodgers, I think, fit in a GPP mold. They're not my top 4 tonight, but I think they're definitely in a good hitting situation. Pretty much play anybody that you want to. I just stack them up if you're going that way. San Francisco on the other side too can throw a ton of righties at Price. They're relatively cheap. I think the most expensive guy is like 4.6 with Bryant, and Belt would be a lefty-lefty matchup, but how long does Price last into the game anyways? So I think they're a cheap contrarian stack also. Not super high on my radar. I'd rather play like the Mets or Minnesota or maybe Kansas City against Keuchel, but I think San Francisco is definitely in play here. Final game is the Houston Astros and the San Diego Padres. You have Jose Urquidy and Jake Arrieta. I don't know why San Diego went and got Jake Arrieta. They've been struggling. They're almost in danger of free falling out of the playoffs, losing the wild card to, I think, Cincinnati. Milwaukee, I think, is like 10 games up on Cincinnati. So I don't think Cincinnati has a chance to get to the division, but I think they definitely can overtake San Diego for that spot. So you'd think that they would find a better pitching situation, or even, if just they have a decent bullpen, just like play a bullpen game here. But throwing Arrieta out there, Urquidy on the other side, I think he's okay. San Diego, they only have a 410 total here. They have most of their normal guys back in the lineup. They're just not putting up explosive runs like they have in the past. I think Urquidy is a decent pitcher. 12 to 15 DK points at 8.4. I think he's definitely viable tonight in the mid-range if you're looking for somebody. Probably has to have low ownership, seeing people see him up against the Padres. So we'll see what ownership is there. Houston bats I really like against Arrieta. I think they're my 4th favorite. I'm going with Coors first at Atlanta, Colorado, Cincinnati, and Houston be solid number 4 there. In looking at lineups, definitely like them there. The Padres, again, I think probably in the top 15, but I don't think in my top 10 in situations tonight, but I'm definitely going to have low ownership. So if you want to take some pieces of them, they're just very expensive to go. So let's look at the breakdown for the top pitchers tonight. Peralta, I think, would be number 1 based on pricing and the matchup, but he could be on pitch count, come back from injury, scares me, so I think I'm out on him. Wainwright I really like also against Milwaukee, but at 10K, I think with the bats I want to get, I'm going to be out on him. So that leaves Uvalde and Manoah, and I think both of them are viable, but I really think I'm going to start in this mid-range. I think Ohtani is going to be a favorite SP1 tonight, and then SP2 Gibson. You can throw Bumgarner, Urquidy in there too if you're looking to pivot off for a little bit more money, but I think Ohtani at his price point of 8.7 is definitely a fair price. Like he's only $100 more than Bumgarner, and if you put the two of those together in their matchups, you're definitely going to 99 out of 100 times want to take Ohtani. Maybe not tomorrow morning, but if something crazy happens, but I think we're definitely safe there. And Gibson is pretty decent price too, so I think he's at 8.1, so he's going to save you money over equity at 8.4. So I think those are the two guys in the mid-range. Cheap guys, like I said, Otto, definitely my favorite. I'm going to take the risk there. 5K, like what I saw in the minors, like what I saw his first time out there against an Angels lineup that doesn't necessarily scare me too much. Cortez for the Yankees and Means, I think, are other two guys in the mid-range that have a lot of potential, but some risk with them also. And then Keuchel is just kind of there, no strikeout upside whatsoever, but can eat up some innings. And against a Kansas City team, he should pitch an efficient game. And you're not looking for a ton of DK points there, but if you're looking for someone with floor that's not going to kill you or get blown up, I think he's a good one. My faves are going to be Manaea, Sensatel, Price, and Arrieta. So top stacks: Atlanta, Colorado, Cincinnati, Houston, GPP, New York, Chicago White Sox, Dodgers, and Toronto. Like I said, Boston is in play. Tampa Bay could be in play. Angels could be in play. Cheap ones, Minnesota, definitely number one. Mets, really like them too. KC, San Francisco. And then your leverage stacks are Oakland, Texas, Milwaukee, and St. Louis. So looking at builds, if I'm trying to get cores in here, I'm going to go Ohtani and then Gibson or Otto of my SP2. Marchin is going to be my catcher. And then Freeman, Albies, Riley, Peterson, and Soler would probably be the batters I'm looking at. And then depending on which you take, if you take Otto, you can get a couple of Coors bats in there from Colorado side. And if you take Gibson, you still have a decent amount to get some good fill-ins from Minnesota or some Mets or some of the other cheap teams we talked about today. If you want to go with Cincinnati, again, if I'm looking at Ohtani or Gibson or Otto, Stevenson at catcher, Votto, India, Farmer, and Castellanos. And if you play Otto, then you can actually get a Brave stack in there if all the right guys start to finish that one off. So I kind of really like that lineup. Cincinnati with 3 Braves and Otto and Ohtani. And then the final one, if you want to pay all the way up for Wainwright, and you could do a Yankee stack of Sanchez, Voit, Judge, and Stanton. I'd leave shortstop out there. I'd throw in Minnesota stack for the other ones, and then decide who you want for your SP2 based on who you throw in the shortstop position. You can probably get up to like maybe Baez from the Mets if you go Otto, and then if you go like all the way up, like if there's a punt 2K guy, you can get somebody in like the probably 8K range for a pitcher. So definitely lots of ways to go tonight. Very big slate. So thank you for watching and this breakdown. Leave some comments below if you have some questions. I tried to cover as much as I can, but with just so much, I just don't want your heads to completely explode. So I think Coors is definitely a priority. Ohtani, Gibson, Otto, between those pitchers for cash. If you want to go, with one of the higher ones like Evalu or Manoa, I think make the most sense. Wainwright's is too expensive. Peralta is just, too risky, not knowing how much he's going to throw there. So, but, have some fun, enjoy it. I hope you guys have a safe Labor Day weekend. Reach out to me on Twitter at MegaRoar31. Drop some comments below. Please give us a like, subscribe to our channel. 3 NASCAR races this week. We'll have baseball covered. College football, just so many things. So just check out our channel. We got you covered for so many different sports here, all free of charge. And if you want to join our Discord, go to the bio below and you'll find the link to join FSI Sports. And we'll just give you even more deep coverage there. We'll get you cores. We'll get you like answers to all your questions, leading you through your lineup builds to help you be very successful in DFS. So thanks again for watching. I'm MegaRoar31. Until next time.